From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aishah Ashraf. Our top story for today: Israeli strikes on Gaza have killed 27 Palestinians and injured 149 in the past 24 hours, according to Gaza's health ministry. Amid the violence, extreme winter cold has worsened the crisis. 7 displaced civilians, including 6 children, have frozen to death. Bombings targeted homes in Beit Hanun, killing 6 people, including a mother and 3 children. Heavy shelling hit northern areas, including Jabalia, while Gaza City's neighborhoods faced relentless airstrikes. 1-month-old twins succumbed to hypothermia at Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital. Many residents in makeshift shelters endure freezing weather and torrential rains. The World Health Organization has condemned attacks on Gaza hospitals, urging their protection. Arrested hospital director Dr. Hassam Abu Safia is reportedly being held at an Israeli army base. Israeli soldiers have shared videos torching Palestinian homes in Beit Hanun, accompanied by a racist song, "Let Your Village Burn." The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Israeli leaders, accusing them of war crimes. Israel also faces a genocide case at the International Court of Justice. Israel conducted a massive airstrike on a weapons depot in Tartus, Syria on December 16, 2024. Israeli Defense Forces reportedly destroyed a Scud missile facility. However, speculation has risen about the possible use of a small nuclear weapon in the attack. The strike caused a 3.0 magnitude earthquake felt as far as Iznik, Turkey, 820 kilometers away. Russian media claimed Israel launched a new missile from a warship, while other reports suggest the use of a B-61 nuclear bomb developed by the US. The EU's radioactive environmental monitoring detected a spike in radiation levels in Turkey and Cyprus 20 hours after the explosion. The findings hint at a potential small-scale nuclear attack, raising global concerns. Israel has not commented on the allegations. An Israeli report has exposed details of Ismail Haniyeh's assassination in Tehran. According to a private Israeli broadcaster, the Hamas leader was killed on July 31st by a precision bomb planted in his room. The device was set up after Iran's presidential inauguration and was controlled remotely. Months of planning and surveillance ensured Haniyeh stayed in the targeted room. A broken air conditioner nearly disrupted the plan but was fixed in time. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has admitted responsibility, marking the first public acknowledgement of the operation. Channel 12 reported planning the operation took months. An unnamed source described the mission as one of the most complex and sensitive operations. World leaders and human rights advocates are mourning the passing of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter. Carter died Sunday at his home in Plains, Georgia at age 100. Known for his relentless pursuit of peace and justice, Carter brokered the historic Camp David Accords between Israel and Egypt. He received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002 for decades of humanitarian work. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres praised Carter as a lifelong humanitarian, highlighting his contributions to mediating conflict, promoting democracy, and eradicating disease. Carter's environmental foresight, advocacy for marginalized groups, and bold critique of Israel's treatment of Palestinians earned both admiration and controversy. Despite criticism during his presidency for economic challenges and the Iran hostage crisis, Carter's post-presidency legacy shines as a beacon of principle and compassion. James Zogby called him our greatest ex-president, embodying grace and unwavering commitment to human dignity. According to organizers, President Carter's state funeral at Washington National Cathedral will be held on January 9th, featuring a eulogy by President Joe Biden. Watch Muslim Network tribute to President Carter here.
If American presidents are to be judged on justice, President Jimmy Carter will shine like none before him or after. He cared more for principles than politics. Carter was a man of principles before he became president, during his presidency, and after he left the office. Here he is, as governor of Georgia,
time for racial discrimination was over in Georgia.
No poor, rural, weak, or black person should ever have to bear the additional burden of being deprived of the opportunity of an education, a job, or simple justice.
When Jimmy Carter took oath of his office as President of the United States, he stated in his inaugural speech that human rights would be his principle in foreign policy.
Human rights would be a foundation stone of our entire foreign policy.
Than to help shape a just and peaceful world that is truly humane.
Domestically, he appointed more diverse federal judges during his presidency than all presidents combined. 57 non-white and 41 women. On climate change, far before Al Gore became a champion for the cause, President Carter installed solar panels on the White House. And President Carter became the only president in American history to successfully persuade Israel, who returned occupied territory to Egypt through the Camp David Accord. Regarding the 2004 invasion of Iraq, Carter told the Independent newspaper in the UK, "There was no reason for us to become involved in Iraq recently. That was a war based on lies and misinterpretations from London and from Washington." President Jimmy Carter was also brave. Indeed, brave. Bravery is perhaps not an attribute used for American presidents. Unfortunately, it does take bravery to talk about Palestine in America. He called his peacemaking work, quote, "waging peace." However, his book, Palestine, Peace, Not Apartheid, was nothing but a bombshell for Zionists in America. Published in November of 2006, Carter was ahead of his time using the term apartheid. Now, Israel's own human rights organization, B'Tselem, uses the term apartheid. So do Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch. These human rights organizations were, however, 17 years late. President Carter was the first. He called Israeli apartheid worse than South African apartheid. When Israel does occupy this territory deep within the West Bank and connects the 200 or so settlements with each other with a road, and then prohibits the Palestinians from using that road, or in many cases, even crossing the road, this perpetrates even worse instances of apartness or apartheid than we witnessed even in South Africa. Abraham Foxman, the national director of the Anti-Defamation League, accused Carter of engaging in anti-Semitism. Then, the anti-Semitism orchestra simply played on and on. 14 members of the Carter Center's Board of Counselors resigned. The likes of Alan Dershowitz, Dennis Ross, Kenneth Stein, and the Simon Wiesenthal Center went after him. As President Carter visited Brandeis University about his book, major donors told the institution they would no longer donate to the school. But President Carter stood his ground. Here is President Carter 3 years later in Gaza. Tragically, the international community too often ignores the cries for help, and the citizens of Palestine are treated more like animals than like human beings, he said. The starving of 1.5 million human beings of the necessities of life. Never before in history has a large community like this been savaged by bombs and missiles and then denied the means to repair itself, Carter said, at a UN school graduation ceremony in Gaza City. While he criticized Hamas using rockets, he stated, "I have to hold back tears when I see the deliberate destruction that has been racked against your people," he said at a destroyed American school, saying it was deliberately destroyed by bombs from F-16s made in my country. "I feel partly responsible for this, as must all Americans and Israelis," Carter said. In Gaza, he met Ismail Haniyeh. Yes, the same Ismail Haniyeh assassinated by Israel. He was the head of Hamas. President Carter asked America and Israel to talk to Hamas and stated Hamas is ready to recognize Israel. He never gave up hope for peace. In 2015, when the now late president said,
But I think the American superpower goal should be to be the champion of peace. We are the most warlike country on earth.
Carter also pointed out that the U.S. had been at peace for only 16 of its then 242 years as a nation. 4 of those years were on his watch. Carter was a truth-telling Christian teacher of a Sunday school. America needs more Christians like him. He was also the only American president to address a Muslim convention. It was President Jimmy Carter who took Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid's hand in his own hand while introducing him to his family and asked him to organize American Muslims against President Bush. He was a president not bought or paid for by anyone. He didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. Israeli occupation still exists. Apartheid exists. And genocide is happening daily right in front of our eyes. But President Carter did his best to tell Zionists and America that it is in their best interest to let Palestinians have equal rights and freedom.
Progressive voices have criticized the GOP's infighting over the H-1B visa program, arguing it distracts from a deeper issue: billionaires exploiting workers. Senator Bernie Sanders' advisor, Warren Gunnels, highlighted how tech magnates like Elon Musk, who benefited from H-1B visas, prioritize profit over fair labor practices. Musk, who spent $277 million to help Trump get elected this year, vowed to go to war to protect the H-1B program. It grants temporary visas to highly educated foreign professionals who work in specialized fields such as technology, medicine, and engineering. His comments came after far-right activist Laura Loomer criticized its impact on Trump's anti-immigration stance. Labor advocates, including the Economic Policy Institute, warned the program often exploits migrant workers, suppresses wages, and offshores jobs. Suggestions to reform the system include enforcing fair wages and improving worker protections. Gunnels noted Sanders' past attempts to raise H-1B fees to support STEM scholarships. Critics maintain the real issue is not immigration, but billionaires leveraging systems to suppress wages and widen inequality. Norovirus cases surge in the U.S. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we will be right back. Welcome back. Norovirus cases appear to be increasing in various parts of the U.S. Citing data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, ABC News reports 90 norovirus outbreaks were detected during the first week of December. Previous years' data for the same week shows a maximum of 65 outbreaks, according to the CDC. Earlier this month, at least 80 people became ill with norovirus, which was linked to raw oysters. Norovirus, the leading cause of vomiting and diarrhea, is a highly contagious virus that is the most common cause of viral gastroenteritis. On Christmas Eve, a man standing outside San Francisco's Bernal Heights Islamic Center tore pages from the Quran while wielding a Thor-like toy hammer to intimidate attendees. Surveillance footage posted by the city's oldest mosque, established in 1959, revealed persistent harassment by the man, described as a repeat offender. The Council on American Islamic Relations noted a rise in harassment of San Francisco mosques in 2024. It marks a 30-year high in anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian racism. Executive Director Zahra Billu urged officials to take stronger action against hate crimes. This is not the first such incident. In recent years, the mosque faced beer bottle attacks and vandalism. City leaders have been called to denounce these acts and uphold the city's commitment to diversity and inclusion. A TV reporter in Colorado was attacked by President-elect Donald Trump supporter Patrick Thomas Egan. Egan allegedly said, "This is Trump's America now," as he confronted the reporter. The 39-year-old faces charges of bias-motivated crimes, assault, and harassment. The victim, Jaron Alex, said he believed he was targeted for being Pacific Islander. Police said Egan followed Alex's car before the assault. Egan's court hearing is scheduled for January 2nd. The Freedom of the Press Foundation reports 75 assaults on journalists this year, a 70% rise from 2023. A survey showed 36% of journalists faced threats or violence and 28% reported legal harassment. Still, 23% of Americans do not see political attacks on journalists as a threat to press freedom. Among Republicans, 38% held this view, compared to 9% of Democrats. Many Americans remain frustrated with political news coverage, an Associated Press poll found. The White House has confirmed a 9th U.S. telecommunications company breach linked to the Chinese hacking group Salt Typhoon. Active since 2019, the group specializes in infiltrating government and telecom networks globally. Deputy National Security Advisor Ann Neuberger highlighted private sector vulnerabilities and called for strengthened cybersecurity measures. She urged accountability for China's cyber espionage. No classified communications are believed to be compromised. However, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency warns attackers may still have access to affected systems. To counter threats, CISA has urged encrypted messaging platforms and issued telecom security guidelines. The Biden administration plans stricter measures, including banning China telecom operations and investigating TP-Link routers. Legislative efforts are underway, with U.S. Senator Ron Wyden proposing a network security bill and the FCC pushing for stronger carrier protections. The Sudanese government has rejected a UN-backed report declaring famine in the conflict-ridden country, citing flaws in methodology. Agriculture Minister Abu Bakr Omar al-Bushra dismissed the report as unrealistic, questioning data collected from 15 states. Out of these states, 7 are under siege by paramilitary forces, where field surveys were deemed impossible. The report, released by the IPC Famine Review Committee, claimed 24.6 million people, nearly half of Sudan's population, face food insecurity. It said famine is already impacting 5 regions and is expected to worsen by 2025. The Sudanese Foreign Ministry called the findings flawed, accusing the committee of relying on outdated data. Meanwhile, UN officials warn of an escalating humanitarian disaster as an ongoing conflict between Sudan's army and the RSF disrupts food supplies across 13 states. With millions at risk of starvation, international calls for peace have grown urgent. Bangladesh is ramping up trade with Pakistan in apparent retaliation to India, signaling a shift in regional dynamics. The government is encouraging importers to source goods from Pakistan, as seen with the arrival of a Panama flag cargo ship at Chittagong port on Sunday. The ship carried 811 containers of industrial materials, garment raw materials, sugar, and electronics. This marks only the second direct shipment from Pakistan since Bangladesh's independence in 1971, with the first arriving in November. Officials highlighted the importance of these imports for Bangladesh's textile and ceramic industries. The move coincided with a meeting between Bangladesh's interim leader, Professor Muhammad Yunus, and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in Cairo. The leaders agreed to strengthen ties through trade, sports, and cultural exchanges, signaling a potential recalibration of regional alliances. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.